Right.
Alright, so everybody, this is Josh and Johnny with the Firearm Convention.
What's up, everybody?
What are we doing today? Well, we're getting ready to work on a gun stock. Okay, so this is a replacement gun stock from Brownells, and it's a Remington 700 BDL style stock. The question is, what are we doing? So when they cut this stock, they cut it for a varmint style contour, which is what we wanted to go with the heavy profile barrel. But what we got in here is a stock that warped when they cut this channel. They cut them with CNC machines, so all the inlets done with a CNC machine. But the stock fore end is actually warped to the left. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to go in here and we're going to inlet a section of this stock. We're going to drop down 4/10 of an inch down into the stock and then come back to about right here. Now I'm on the center line between this hole and this hole, and you know we have our action holes right here, and I'm on the center line of this stock. Now why did it warp? My guess is either one, it wasn't completely kiln dried and taken care of, or more than likely the grain on this side is tighter than the grain on this side, so when they cut this channel it just naturally pulled to the left a little bit. So what we're going to do is cut a channel 4/10 of an inch deep. We're then going to glass bed in a piece of 3/8 inch all thread at an angle from here to here, and then we will wedge this end, which will draw the fore end over. Now, as you can see, we're not crazy tight here. We're not super tight on everything. We don't want this to be crushed down. We're not tightening down aluminum. We're not tightening down steel. So we don't want there to be marks on the wood when we're done. So, and any minor marks, I'm going to sand out anyway. The stock's unfinished. So, what the plan is here, we're going to run this machine at about 1,000 RPMs to make sure I'm not dragging anything here, because I'm not where I want to be. We're going to come down, and I need to make some marks here. I'm going to stop, say right here. I'm going to stop before the recoil lug, and let's say we're going to stop here, about right here. So we're not going to, that's where we're going to inlet. Okay, we're not going to go way out into the fore end here, because it starts to taper. It tapers down into, you know, nothing at the fore end. So to get our depth measurement, to make sure we could do all this, we measured the height from where we were going to start, from the bottom to the top, which came out to 1.350 total. And then I measured the thickness of one of my parallels. Now parallel means it's just parallel. All sides are parallel. Every side. It's a completely parallel piece of steel. So we laid it on the top after we got the thickness. And then we used the digital readout on this machine for our quill depth to touch down onto the top of this parallel. Now the parallel rides on the top of the stock. And then from there, we used a 1/16 inch end mill bit to touch the very center and bottom of this stock. So we got all that information, and then we figured out, once we subtracted, you know, the 667 from the 130 and got that number, then we subtracted that from the 1.350 to give us our actual thickness down in here, and that comes to 813. So unless we totally screw it up, we shouldn't blow out the bottom.
That's a goal.
That's the goal, not blowing out the bottom.
Yep.
So we're going to do this in like 50 thou passes. We're not going to do anything crazy. I'm not going to be grabbing any chunks. You know, I'm not going to plunge this down 4/10 and then just run it, because one, this is actually an aluminum end mill bit. It's not meant for wood. So we're going to take extra precaution. And another reason why I'm going to come in, and I'm not going to come way out here, is because I want to leave enough meat on the underside because I'm considering putting in one of those M-LOK slots for an Atlas rail for a Picatinny slot. So I don't want to go so far down that when I roll it and start cutting on the bottom that I find my old unit. And what this is going to do is, it's not only is it going to adjust this into the center, but it's also going to stabilize this fore end, because once I get this bedded in, I'm going to fill in the whole inside with Acraglass, which is going to stiffen this fore end up, plus the 3/8 inch iron rod that I put in
So
there.
any weaknesses or cracks, it'll just fill it on.
Well, and it'll keep the fore end from flexing at all. It'll be as if it was like a like a Bell and Carlson or whatever, or a McMillan. I don't know if it'd be a McMillan, but oh boy.
That's on camera.
Yeah, don't say that to the camera. So what we're going to do now, we're going to run roughly 1,000 RPMs. Like I said, I'm not going to be going down in too deep here. I've got a digital readout to show me my depth, but I'm actually going to come in here. The reason, if you come in here, Johnny, and look at the bottom, I marked the bottom here. The reason I did that is so that when I come down in, I don't want to get a false height based on the edges, because I am going to touch edges before I touch the bottom. So as you can see, we're cutting the edges, but we're not down to the bottom yet. So we're going to come into here, and I'm not going to go and touch bottom, but I am going to run it down the length of the stock. So, and we're just making sure that we're taking just a little bit of the time, and that we're not putting undue stress on this stock in any way. And we're just coming across. We're just coming across here and cleaning this up, running nice and slow. That way we're getting all the swarf cut out of the way, because like I said, this technically is not, and there you can see we're not cutting anymore. And that's just the taper of the contour of the inlet there. So we're going to come back across. Pause for a moment here. So we can see where we're at. Come back to our starting point, which is right here. And again, we're going to drop the head down a little bit more. And what we're doing is we want this center line to go away. And that's going to be our true zero mark. See how that line's starting to disappear? Okay, right there is zero. That's the very bottom of the barrel channel. So now we're going to come back across. And again, we're just going to clean this out. Now I made sure that we were centered as best we can be. Left and right, front and back, as far as we can get. That way as I come across, I'm still cutting the center of this barrel channel. Boy, you can smell the linseed oil in here. Now, some people might ask, like right here, I'm not cutting anything. I want my 400 depth to be here at the far end. I don't want 400 down here, because down here at this end, that 400 may be more along the lines of 6/10. And if it's 6/10, I might again blow through the bottom. I want to make sure I have plenty of meat.
You don't want that.
So, that's where we're headed. The worst case, I can come in here and I can step it a couple times, but that's hopefully. Okay. So now we're going to come back across. We're at zero height. So what we're going to do, the material you see in the center is when I drug the one end mill bit across. But I'm at my zero height now. We're going to come in here. It's a long process to drag it back through. Once I get my zero height taken care of on this end, I'll cut in both directions. Okay, there's that. Now, we're going to tighten this down here, turn this, our DRO on, and then zero it out. And then I'm going to come in and drop it down. We're going to shoot for 50 thou, but if that's too deep, if that seems to be too strenuous on the piece of material, we'll change that to like 25s. And we're just going to come across this piece of wood nice and slow. You know, we just want to make sure, because this thing's not tightened down like it's ridiculous. If Johnny were to grab it right now on the stock, he could flex it without any problem. But we're just coming across nice and slow.
And that would be the end of our friendship also.
No, man. $220 would not be the end of our friendship. It would just be the lightening of your bank account by $220.
And a fork to the face.
Maybe from your wife, as you explain that you're paying for a $220 stock. So we're not putting any oil on this or anything, because we're just going nice and slow. This is a high-speed steel 2-flute end mill, square bottom. Like I said, I can smell the linseed oil. Okay, now let me go all the way to the end here. Okay, there's that. Now we're going to go... We're going to drop the depth down to 0.1. Now something I am going to do, I'm going to lock this in place, because I did notice that it walked a little bit on me, when it was going across. I walked 8 thou deep. So now we're just going to come back across this way, and we'll just take a couple passes here. I gotta clean this up. Okay. Now something else that we're doing here. We're walking a little onto the one side there. So it's getting a little wider there, so we're gonna have to adjust this real quick. It pulled the one side. So, which isn't a big deal because I can acro glass the whole thing in. But we need to get back over centered. Check our stock here. What happens inside the barrel channel really isn't a big deal, because it's all covered. It's like that, what was that one dude with the happy accidents? Bob Ross. It's all happy accidents. Unless it blows to the bottom, then it's going to be a very unhappy accident. Now, I'm sure there's a lot of guys out there just be like, oh, I don't know why you didn't do it this way. I'm new to this, so that's why I didn't do it that way. So we're going to fire this back up. We're going to drop back down in. We're going to do another 50 thou cut. Alright, so we got done with the inlet here. We went a little deeper than we wanted to, but we were running into an issue as we came back here. we weren't getting our depth on this end. This end is golden. We didn't want to take any more material up here, but we wanted to lift the tail end up, the butt end up some. So what I did is I put a 1, 2, 3 block on the back end here, and that pretty much gave us 2 even 1-inch surfaces, because the 1, 2, 3 block is 1 inch here, 2 inches here, 3 inches long. So 2 inches tall, 1 inch wide, 3 inches, whatever the other measurement is. So, hey, I forgot. It's all good, right? But anyway, so I put a 1, 2, 3 block in here, and that basically allowed me to come in and get the depth I needed here. Now, this is a lot of material hogged out. Right now, this stock is really going to really be flexible, really easy to break. So the next step is to cut our piece of 3/8 dowel rod, and it's going to sit in there at an angle like that. So it's going to be bottom corner back here, top corner up here. And I'm going to acroglass the base end down here, and then I'll drive a wedge on this side after the acroglass is dried, and that will allow me to pull the stock this way. And then I'll acroglass this whole shebang so that it's just completely stabilized, and I've refilled it with everything, and we'll be golden. You know, and this will be a fix for basically time and all eternity. So let's get this thing out of the stock. Get the stock out of the fixture. I know I'm sure I'll get flack from somebody about, that's not how you affix the stock, but it worked. I mean, that's all that matters. I don't have any marks up here on this end. I don't have any marks on this end, and really that's what it's all about. Remember I said it was really fragile, and then what do? Forget about that part. Yeah, whatever. But there it is. So we did have to come in, and I did have to raise up a little bit because we were coming in too deep, as you can see right here. But again, not a huge concern. We're going to acroglass and put a nice bed in, and then we'll bring the all thread in. And the reason we're using all thread is because not only do you want a chemical bond to the rod, I could have used a 3/8 metal rod, but you want that mechanical bond to the threads. It just makes that much stronger. So there we go. Stay tuned. We'll get you moving on the next portion of the project. All right, so here we got acroglass that I've been mixing up. So what we're going to do in here now, we've got a good bit of this, so we're just going to splooge this down into this crevice down in here, okay? We're just going to get it painted down in there really good. Now, as you can see, I mean, I'm going to get it pretty much everywhere. And that's okay, because this stuff will like chip right off if it's in too thin, which is just fine. So I'll be able to come in there with a file and take care of that really, really quick. So I made up a ton of it, more than I need. But so this bolt's going to go in there. It's got a little nut that I'm going to use as well right here. So before I set that down in there, I'm going to splooge this in on the bolt. And just work it into the threads, because like I said, we want that mechanical lock on the threads. So our wives.
Can't get rid of them.
No, life would be a pain in the butt without them,
Yeah.
literally. So then we're going to splooge this down in here like this. Okay. And then I got this little nut. I'm going to use this nut just to make sure, and at this point we're just using this to hold the stock. I'm just going to put this little nut in there just to make sure that it all stays. Just push that down in there just to make sure it all stays on the side that I want it. So we're just going to put that in there like that. Okay, that's pretty much all we can do today. When we come back in, I'm actually going to bring this, I'm going to put more material in there just because I made up way too much. But acroglass for what we're doing is cheap. I mean,
Looks yummy.
It actually smells like almonds. I've always thought it smells like almonds. It actually has a pretty decent, it's got a nutty smell to it. First time I ever used Acroglass, I was like, what the hell is that smell?
Maybe not good with people with allergies.
Or it might be made out of nuts. I mean, just don't eat it.
Definitely not kosher.
No?
No, probably not.
I mean, I don't see the OU on there, so it probably isn't. So I'm just pressing this down in, making sure it gets pushed down into the threads down there, because we don't really want any spots down in there. And like I said, all this can be, like all this on the edges, I can go in there with and clean that up, you know, so that's not a problem. So we just want to get this mostly taken care of. Okay. Acroglass, every time I get it, it's a lot like that freaking cement you use for your not cement. What's that? Anti-seize.
Oh.
It's related to anti-seize. They're like kissing cousins. I get it everywhere.
I've been using that stuff for my plugs.
Okay, so now we're getting that pretty much straightened out. I don't want to go too far up this bolt because I need to have room to get my wedge in there and then torque this over. So we're not going to do anything yet to this side. I'm going to come in here. I'm going to make a little small wedge and basically just bring it in on this little crack right here, tap it in, and that'll draw, once this is set, we'll draw the stock this way a little bit, and it'll center the barrel channel up with the barrel.
How long do you have to wait for it to set?
Normally, see, you can play with it at 12 hours, I believe it is. It's like got a soft set, but they say for any work like structural, like hard duty stuff, like if you're going to shoot it and you bedded your gun, 24 hours, is the minimum to set up for this. So,
all right,
it's pretty much a done deal for 24 hours.
So then this will be a part 1.
So even though I can get it out of there, I just want to make it look good, So, and all this you're not going to see under the stock. You're not going to see all this, in the barrel channel. Yeah, thank you. You're not going to see this underneath the barrel. Which is why I didn't want to start cutting on this outside edge, because the outside edge, I mean, it looks really good. But all of this is going to be hidden under your barrel. So this doesn't necessarily have to look beautiful. It just has to be functional. So there's that. And with this stuff here, if I get it too high, I can always come in with another bit, with another end mill, and clean up this Acroglass to get it to free float. So when I put the barrel in, if for whatever reason I'm too high, I'll just come in and pop it. It'll be good. But that's it for now. We're done. We are golden.
All right, guys, stay tuned for part 2 of how to fix a warp stock, and or how we fix a warp stock. And yeah, that's pretty much it.